Alright, so I'm at the Greenville Textile Heritage Society, and this is a park that they made to honor the textile mills in the Greenville area. And my mom, she's done a lot of the artwork for the Heritage Society, and there's been several books and stuff, and these are all just a little bit of history of each of the mills that was in Greenville area. And Mom told me that the Poe mill is there's some bricks there with my grandparents' name on it. They worked there for a while, but most of my family on both sides worked in cotton mills. My grandparents on my mom's side, they worked at Woodside and some of the mills, and my dad, he worked at the Foster plant, and two of his brothers there worked there as well. And so it was a big part of the area back in the I don't know, 50s all the way through the 70s, 80s, before I think it was NAFTA sent everything overseas, kind of destroyed the industry here in the southeast as far as the cotton mills. But anyway, they've converted them to lofts. This is the old Monaghan mill, and they convert them to lofts, and they bring in a pretty hefty fee, which is good. I mean, it puts money back into the economy, and preserves the structure. You know, I know remodeling these old mills is not cheap, but it's pretty cool that they get to keep it around, and they don't bulldoze it, and they make lofts, and it can make money and still be part of the community. So let's go see if we can find the Poe mill. Here it is. So I'm not sure how my grandparents worked here or what the story was, but if that's where they met, or I mean, I don't really know. But Mom says that there's a brick here. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Robert and Judy Aiken. That's pretty cool. This is a nice area. They did a good job. So these are mill houses, and they would put these communities up around all the mills. So a lot of houses in a tight area, so everybody became, you know, close. And all these houses typically look the same. Even the ones in, I'm in Greenville now, even the ones in Easley, they all look similar. They got the high pitched roofs, the front porch, the two doors on the front, and a lot of the homes, they're all still standing. People have been coming around remodeling, putting new siding, new roofs on them, and they're still around. And this one, I mean, these houses, I guess, were built, you know, pretty soundly. They've been around forever, and people getting them remodeled, putting new siding and new roofs on them. But they would be by blocks, and they would name the streets like South 6th Street or something like that. So But anyway, you can see there's one here, there's one across the road on the back side of the church there, and they would be just scattered all around the mill. And people who worked in the mill, they would live in these houses, and they would walk to the mill. They didn't have far to go, so they call them the Mill Hills. I'm gonna go over here and check this this old mill out. So this is the old Monaghan Mill. You know, the outside looks the same except for maybe the windows, but they went in and made some nice apartments, high ceilings. It's a little bit better view here. And usually these communities, they had a little bit of everything. They had stores, they had ball fields and churches. The old water tower. So what's cool about these Mill Hill villages is the back alleys. They go between all the houses. I had to ask Mom what they were for, but I remember growing up as a kid that, you know, all the Mill Hill areas had back alleys behind the houses. But it's funny how all these look the same no matter where you're at. Whether you're in Easley or Greenville, Spartanburg, all these houses look the same. They're set up the same. So this is where my mom grew up. This is my grandparents' house, and we're on South Knight Street here. And my aunt and uncle Joy and Jason live here now. And the house here on the right, Mama did a drawing of. She'll tell the story in the video of them dragging the TV outside and running a drop cord through the window to watch TV. And it looks like the tree, they've cut the big tree down now, but things have definitely changed. This is Woodside Park, and Mom did a painting of it too. And we're gonna head up toward the mill here. These mill villages were real close to the mill. People would just walk to work. And they've remodeled this mill, done an excellent job. It's a beautiful place now. It's great that they put the money back into the economy. They didn't tear it down. They put the money in it and refurbished it, and it's has a new purpose now, and it's great. They've done a lot of work to it, so I'm glad they didn't just bulldoze it. But we'll go take a look at it, and I'll drive through and parking lot, show it to you. And kept the old smokestack. It's pretty cool that they did this and they just didn't tear everything down, so. They got to reuse everything and repurpose it. That's pretty awesome. guess that's an old guard shack or something. So this is South 5th Street, I think. And my grandfather's mother lived in this house out on the end on the right here. And they've remodeled it. It looks good. Right in front of the church here, right beside the mill. This is Mom's studio. Alright, so I'm here at my mom's art studio, and I just realized that I've done a bunch of videos, but I've never done one of my mom and her artwork. So she's a muralist. Did I say that right?
You got it.
And so she was a muralist, yeah. And she's kind of found her calling with this Mill Hill art. And you've seen the first part of the video was a what do you call it? What we did yesterday. It
was the Mill Village Artist Day.
Yeah.
I'm so touched to tell that they gave me a day there because I was sick and in the hospital when they had their festival, and I had been working a really long time on it, and then I ended up in the hospital and couldn't attend. So they were put that together, and I was just so thankful to them. They've become very good friends, and I appreciate every one of them.
So I'm here to maybe talk about some of your art, but let's maybe start from the beginning. If you would just tell me, how you transitioned from a muralist into the Mill Hill art, and how you got started with those drawings.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to tell you how touched I am that you came here today to do this for me. And I'm so proud of you and all the videos that you've done. I just think you have a knack for that, and I am honored that you're here today and to do this. So just to give you a synopsis of, well, I've been painting for like 50 years. So I always had a day job, until I was 52. Mm-hmm. And then I had the opportunity to paint murals, and it was like this big blessing where word got out. That's the only advertising I did, and I was so busy. And I got the opportunity to paint in hospitals and schools and businesses and people's homes all throughout the state. And the reason I transitioned into something else is because I got old. You can only climb a ladder when you're, a certain age. It's not safe. And if you're on the second rung of a ladder and you think you're on the bottom one and you step back, it can rock your world. So I knew it was time to quit. But I miss doing that. I'm very thankful. It helped me pay my bills. It paid well. but I knew that I had to move on to something else. And for 30, at least 32 years, I had been doing the Mill Village art, but it was kind of sporadic as I had time. I had to, if you're a working artist, you kind of have to go where the money is if you want to pay your bills. So the murals afforded me to do that. And but my first painting of the Mill Village genre was for my mom. It was a gift, and it was in 1992, and I think we showed a picture of that one. And she was just very touched by it, but when I was painting it, I was just joyful in doing so. It was like I had found, even though I appreciated the murals and I loved doing that, I had truly found my niche. And it was like right at my back door all the while, because I've lived the Mill Village life. It's who my people are, and your roots, your family on both sides have textile roots, and your grandparents, your great grandparents, we all lived at Woodside and Easley. So that's what I know. People say, paint what you know. Well, that's what I know. And it's so dear to my heart. And I didn't think anyone would like those paintings other than myself, but I'm glad I was wrong, because they seem to resonate with other people that grew up on the Mill Village. And we had such similar lives. It was a wonderful time. I was a child of the 50s, a teenager of the 60s, an adult in the 70s, and then over the hill in the 90s, so, but people my age and older, that's kind of what we knew in these parts, there's so many, that's what kept the economy going, and a lot of the pictures I paint are in the 50s time frame, but I've just, it's been a joy to do that, and the people that I have met, and we have similar lives. Our zip codes were different, but we did a lot of the same things. That's how Mill Hill life was, and that's how it was in the Southeast in the 50s. Our parents, they had to work really hard in the mills. But when the 50s came along, some of the conditions, I know my grandparents worked in the mills too, and it was a little harder back then, but when they put air conditioning in, the conditions of working in a cotton mill were, I'd say better, but still hard work, because my grandfather, he died when I was like 6 years old, and he was in his 60s, so he went to work in the mills when he was like 9 or 10, and the conditions, that was before the child labor laws, But as time marched on, the conditions got better, and I guess we were considered poor, but we were happy, we had lots of friends to outside our door. It was never any, you always had friends around, and that makes you feel rich. When you look back, you think, well, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of friends, so that was a good thing. And we didn't really know we were poor. We had food always on the table, and working in the mills was about the best job that there was to make a livable wage,
Yeah.
And so my whole family, they worked in the mills in different capacities, and uncles, aunts, most kids worked there when they were in school to earn extra money. So I'm proud to have been a child during that time, and to be a Millville girl.
Yeah.
I wear it proudly. I'm glad to say I'm a Millville girl, and I like to, it's a labor of love with me, these paintings.
Yeah.
And, people tell me their stories, and it inspires me. I've just always got a painting stuck in my head, of something someone told me, and about growing up there. And they tell it with love and joy in their voice and stuff. So it's not just me and my opinion. It seems to be the consensus of all that I talk with. It's my age or a little younger,
Yeah.
and older as well. So another thing, talking about the Greenville Textile Heritage Society, I met them about 16 or 17 years ago, and that has been a joy. I've watched them work so hard to make the park come to fruition, and they still have great plans for it, and I'm proud to be a part of their group. And it's exciting when they put on the festivals and we all get together and brainstorm. So we're just all like-minded folks. But one thing that has impressed me with them is all these mills in Greenville have come together under the Greenville Textile Heritage umbrella, and they get along. You got so many groups, and they honor God at their meetings, and so they're just a joy to be a part of. And I don't know if I said this somewhere else in the interview, but the park is so beautiful, and they're planning on doing a picnic shelter and a museum, and so they're all excited for the next possibility. But the park right now, with all the alcoves there, it's just a beautiful place to go take a stroll, and I encourage you to do that. And it's across from the Monaghan Mill Lofts, next to the Monaghan Methodist Church, and it's on Smythe Street. And so I just encourage you to go visit today.
So I noticed that when I was walking around out there, I walked through some of the down some of the roads of the Mill Hill, and I noticed how it all looked the same as it does in Easley, and we were in Greenville. So it looks like that the same people built these houses because they all look the same, had the same roof lines, the same big front porch with the doors, the back alleys, and you ride down one of the roads and it looks like you was riding down one of the roads in Easley. But I think you've told me that some of the other places, Mill Hills, that you've been to around, they have different housing designs and stuff. But
they do, like Judson in Greenville and Ariel Mill. They have a different, I don't know the name, the architectural name for the style of it, but you have those different styles. Some were two-story, and you get up in North Carolina and you have a different style, but they consider those as mill houses.
Yeah, are they set up the same though? Are they pretty close together with back alleys?
Yeah, they're close. Well, I don't know about the back alleys, but they're close to the mill.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. It was you could walk to the mill. And I know my mom did. She was on the second shift, and she would walk home. We had a neighborhood dog named Spot. He lived next door to us. It wasn't our dog, but he was like the protector of us all. And he would go to the mill and walk Mama home at night.
Yeah.
I just think that was so special. That's another painting too, right there.
Yeah.
Mama and Spot the dog.
Yeah.
But did I tell you about Saxapahaw and
Yeah.
Coolamy?
Go ahead
And
yeah, talk about
well, these are the people, Jim Rumley, that I mentioned earlier. I think I did. Did I tell him in this clip?
that. Go ahead.
But Jim Rumley is the one that encouraged me to keep going with my paintings. And I met him in 2006. He did an interview. And as I stated, I didn't think anyone would like these paintings except me and anyone else that lived on my mill village, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very encouraging to me. He told me that my work could be the voice of the cotton mill people. And that just inspired me from 2006, the whole rest of my life thus far,
Yeah.
you know, to stay the course and to keep on telling the stories of the cotton mill people that I know and love.
Yeah.
And it resonates with the other folks that live there as well. And I'm just very thankful for that. And then I had the opportunity to meet John Jordan, and he's in Saxapahaw. That's kind of close to Chapel Hill, and it's just the coolest, quaintest little town. And he started a museum in Saxapahaw. It is the Jordan family history. His dad was a U.S. senator, and so they have a lot of history. But he also started the museum with artifacts from the mill that they owned.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very honored that he has one of practically all my prints there located in his museum. So I feel like God has directed my path, put these people in my path, and it has grown. And I have grown in appreciation of being part of that whole lifestyle and everything. So
I just have one more question. When I was out looking at those, what do you call them at that park? Where
the alcoves.
The alcoves.
Yeah.
And you had told me to go look for Poe Mill, and you said that Mom and Pa Aiken worked there. So
Right.
how did they, I guess, meet as far as, well,
How did their life? How did they come to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's how I knew the Mill Hill was going to their house and stuff.
Right.
So how did they meet, and how did they stayed in the mill as long as I can remember, working in the mill. I don't really remember Ma working in the mill, but I remember Pa, he had moved from to a couple of different mills when I was younger. I remember that.
Right. Well, you're right. And how they actually met at the Mom was living at the Liberty Mill Village. She also lived at the Katichi Mill Village when her family lived there, the Atkins family. And she lived there till she was about 11. And they moved to Liberty then. And they were teenagers when they became teenagers. One thing about the family, they liked to sing, they liked to dance and have good, clean fun there at the house. So they were having a party, and Daddy was still guitar player. Mm-hmm. So it's my understanding that's how Daddy went to their house to play his guitar, and then he met Mom. Mm-hmm. And so they ended up living at Woodside my whole life. And but they did work. They worked when I was younger at Poe Mill in Greenville, mm-hmm. and that's where they have the brick with their name on it. And I believe that folks can still buy a brick if they have someone that worked in the Greenville mills, you know.
Yeah.
And also they worked at Utica Mohawk in Seneca, but this was when I was a really young child. But they both retired from Woodside in Eastleigh. So that's how that all came about. And they lived there for so long, you know, from the time I was 2. So until they passed, they had lived there like 50 years.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Well, let's walk around and take a look at some of your pictures.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess this is a good place to start right here. This was my first Mill Village painting that I did back in 1992.
Is that the one you give Mom?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the one from my mother and your grandmother, and it was her birthday present. And anyway, she seemed to be very touched by it, and as I was painting, I thought, you know, just brings me joy of trying to capture these memories. So this was the first one, like I said, 31 years ago.
Yeah.
And so kind of evolved from that. And what's on this rack right here are most of my wash day, I call it, wash day paintings. And I have a little ministry that I do at the churches about the progression of the washing machine and our spiritual laundry. And anyway, so that's something that I enjoy doing. But these are the laundry. This is the laundry section. And when we had to hang clothes out on the clothesline and use maybe a washer like this, I never had to do that, thank God. But I have some stories of other people with the old Maytag wringer washer. No.
And you tell me again about this that Helen made.
Yes, Cousin Helen, in 1991, the Eastleigh Mill, Woodside Mill, they had a reunion. I believe it was 100 years, back 1901. Yeah, I guess it was, but that's Woodside Mill, and she made that with plastic canvas for the occasion, for the reunion. And years passed by, she was going to throw it away. And I thought, no, that is priceless. I would love to have that.
Is it crochet?
No, it's plastic canvas.
Oh, I don't know.
Which I'm sure it took a lot of skill to do that.
Yeah.
So, okay, this one is an actual place. It was one of the neighbors' house at the Turner's house. And this big tree that had been there my whole life, we would put on plays there, and the neighbors would come and watch. But this is a special story. This was Mr. Turner and my dad, and this window right here, one Sunday night, they took the console TV out that window and plugged it up with a drop cord. And, you know, that was no easy feat because those things were huge. So they got it outside in the yard, and I was only about 6 years old at the time. And so they had the TV out there, and all the neighbors were bringing their chairs and sitting down under this tree. And I was wondering what was going on. And my mom, she said, shh, be quiet. Ed Sullivan's coming on, and Elvis Presley's going to be there. So this was history in the making at Woodside Mill, and all the neighbors sitting under the tree watching Elvis for his first appearance. So that was quite a memory. I didn't know who Elvis was at the time, but I grew to be a fan.
And I remember you doing all these
Yes.
cutouts.
Yeah. We had, we did a lot of those cutouts and sold them all over the United States, and they were very hard to do. That's why we're not doing them anymore, okay?
Yeah.
And this is a painting of the boarding house at Katichi. In my imagination, back in the day, that someone had said that the school teachers at the elementary school and the men that had business at the mill would all stay at this boarding house. And it's still there. It's a private residence now, but it still exists today. And let's see. And I mentioned Martha Browning, who was Wilt's mother, and this one, that's an actual person, a real person. And that story about her walking home from work off the second shift and her husband waiting on the doorsteps till she got home safely. That was such a sweet picture. And then next here, that's the front of the mill. It could be any mill, but that's kind of how it looked in my day when the windows were boarded up, probably in the late 50s. The windows were boarded up, but this is called shift change. And this is of the Pickens Mill Village. And Dad, he worked there when I was a teenager. And that's his black and white car back there, and someone stole it out of the parking lot. And come to find out, it was a juvenile from Tennessee. And anyway, that's a good memory there. But this is called A Pleasant Day in Pickens County.
Hang on.
Okay, this painting is called No Need for a Phone. And it is one of my older ones, but I was inspired to do this one because back before cell phones, I mean, we had a phone, but you really didn't need one because you could just go out on your porch and holler at someone or yell at them. And I wrote a poem about that, and it's called No Need for a Phone. The millhouse porch was the place to be, to check on your neighbors who were like your own family. It didn't matter if it was the front porch or back. There was always someone to see and always time to yak. Secrets were best told face to face. If you used the party line, the secret could spread all over the place. So pull up a chair and sit for a spell. How's your mama and them? Hope all is well. You could stay and sit there all day long, fellowshipping with each other. Certainly no need for a phone. This painting is titled Backyard at Granny's, and I have a poem for that one too. And it represents their earlier days on the mill village. If you notice, the windows in the mill they have the window panes in it, and there's no underpinning. So this is when they first moved to the mill village. And it's Granny and Papa moved to the village on the hill so Papa could go to work in the mill. Granny worked so very hard planting crops in their tiny backyard. She planted tomatoes, strawberries, corn, and green beans, so they would always have food ready to eat, especially when times were lean. They had a coop for chickens and eggs from hens. They were thankful for everything they had back then. The title of this painting is Back Alley Kite Flying. And as I stated, one of our pastors was explaining how your spirit soars like a kite, and I went home and painted it. And this little poem kind of explains things. The back alley was a narrow passage behind the backyards of the mill house rows. This was the place where the trash trucks rode and where someone was always hanging out their clothes. We could run, jump, and ride our bikes, and it was the very best place to go fly a kite. In the beginning, when I first started doing murals, your room was actually the first one I ever did. And anyway, kind of evolved from that. Actually, when I was 52 years old, I quit my day job and became a full-time mural painter. And the Lord really blessed me with that. I traveled all over the state, painting in hospitals and businesses and people's homes, and I loved it. I met so many wonderful people that were just a real blessing to me. But this right here is archives of the mural. These are pictures of the murals I painted. But you know, time marches on. I had a really good go at the mural painting, but as you get older, you can't climb a ladder, and that's what happened to me. I had relatives that would say, Judy, aren't you a little old to be climbing the ladder? And I eventually had to agree with them. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was painting the Mill Village pictures as I had time, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And it was like God gave me something to do at each stage of my life, and I grew as an artist. And the Mill Village art, I wanted to go back and mention Jim Rumley, how this person tells this person, and so on and so on, and then God puts people in your path. And that's what happened with Jim Rumley. He called me up in 2006 and wanted to do an interview. Wilt Browning had told him about my work, and he came to see it. So we had a very good interview, and he told me, he said, don't stop doing these Mill Village pictures. He said, I think your work is the voice of the Mill Village people, or the cotton mill people. That's what he said. He said, I think your work is the voice of the cotton mill people, and don't quit. And I had thought about quitting because I didn't think anybody else would like them but me and my mom. But I was wrong, and I am very, very thankful to get to still be doing this after all these years. What these paintings are, I call this my Jesus wall. And these are illustrations that I have done for books, mainly Don Harkins. He's written 5 books, and these were, this was the cover painting right here, and okay, so that's what most of these are. This is one of my older paintings, and this is an actual place. It's on 3rd Street at Woodside in Easley. And and this is the beautiful, this also is in one of Don's books, and it is at the Monaghan Methodist Church on the inside. It's so beautiful in there, and that's why I used that setting. And it's in the book, He Keeps Me Singing. And since this is just laying right here, this is a picture of the Textile Heritage Park in Greenville. Did you take a picture of that? If you haven't yet, I encourage you to go over on Smythe Street. It's across from the Monaghan Mill Loss, and they have the Mill Walk Park, and it's just such a beautiful park, and I encourage you to go pay a visit. You'll really enjoy it. And this is the painting that I did of the park.